his private jet and flew straight to Peru. He hadn't been back since the crash, but now he saw everything differently. Instead of closure, all he saw were questions. When he arrived at the crash site in the remote Andes, the memories came rushing back: the burned trees, the scattered wreckage, the solemn faces of rescue workers. But this time, Adam wasn't there to grieve. He was there to investigate. He spoke to local police and old rescue team members. Most gave the same tired answers, but one man, a former mountain guide named Mateo, hesitated when Adam showed him Claire's photo. "I remember her," Mateo said slowly. "She looked like a ghost. I saw her near the forest, days after the crash." Adam's heart jumped. "Are you sure?" he asked. Mateo nodded. "She was barefoot, confused. She spoke English. Then she disappeared." That single statement shattered the official story. Back in the capital, Adam pulled every file he could find, hidden deep in government records. He found something no one ever told him. Only 5 bodies were recovered. Claire's was not one of them. The remains were badly burned and unidentifiable, but the crash was declared fatal for all passengers. Everyone believed billionaire Adam Cole's wife died in a private plane crash 5 years ago. The world moved on. So did he, or at least he pretended to. But one cold evening, a strange woman brushed past him in the street and whispered something that stopped his heart. Adam Cole stepped out of the Grand Hotel, the lights from the gala still shining behind him, but his mind already drifting elsewhere. The cold air hit his face as he walked toward his car. Just then, a woman in a long coat brushed past him, her head down, moving quickly through the crowd. As she passed, she whispered, barely loud enough to hear, "She never died in that crash." Adam froze. His body turned slowly, but she was gone, swallowed by the bustling street. For a moment, he stood still, stunned. His heart pounded. He looked around, hoping to spot her face, but it was useless. The words echoed in his head like a siren. She couldn't be talking about Claire, could she? His wife, Claire, had died 5 years ago, in a private jet crash off the coast of Peru. Everyone accepted it. There had been a funeral. He'd spoken at it. But now, doubt crept in like a slow poison. That night, back at his penthouse, Adam sat alone in his study, staring at old photos of Claire. He opened a dusty folder labeled Crash Report and reread the investigation summary for the first time in years. Something nagged at him. The lack of closure. How they never found all the bodies. Claire's was never confirmed. Suddenly, the grief that had lived quietly in a corner of his heart erupted into something new. Suspicion. What if she had survived? What if someone made sure he never found out? The whisper wasn't just strange, it was a spark. And once it was lit, Adam knew he wouldn't be able to stop until he had answers. No matter what it cost. The next morning, Adam Cole boarded Y. The airline had rushed to settle the case. His own company had accepted it without protest. Maybe someone wanted it closed quickly. Adam felt sick. The more he looked, the more he saw a pattern. Not just tragedy, but manipulation. This wasn't just an accident. Claire might have survived, and someone wanted her gone. The whisper wasn't just a warning. It was the beginning of something much bigger. And now, Adam wasn't just grieving, he was hunting the truth. Following Mateo's lead, Adam traveled deep into the jungle, far beyond paved roads and city maps, until he reached a small, forgotten village, tucked between thick trees and mountains. The air felt different there, heavy with silence, as if the town itself was hiding something. The people stared at him with suspicion. Foreigners didn't come here often, and certainly not men in designer shoes asking about a woman who vanished. 5 years ago, Adam showed them Claire's photo, his voice steady but hopeful. Most turned away, shaking their heads. But an old woman, wrinkled and quiet, dropped her basket when she saw the picture. Her hands trembled as she whispered, "Luna." That was the name they gave her. A woman who appeared from the forest years ago, barefoot and silent, with eyes full of fear and no memory of her past. She helped in the local clinic, always calm, always kind. "Where is she now?" Adam asked, almost afraid of the answer. The old woman looked down. "Men came," she said. "Foreigners. 2 years ago they took her away in a black van. She didn't fight. She was too scared." Adam's stomach dropped. Claire had survived. She had been alive, and someone found her. But instead of helping, they took her. Why? Who were they? And how did they even know where she was? Everything pointed to something deeper, something dark. Claire wasn't just lost, she had been taken. Adam's jaw tightened. This was no longer just about love or loss. It was about control, secrets, and power. Someone had stolen his wife from her own life. And now, no matter how far he had to go, he would get her back. Adam returned to the city with a fire in his chest and one goal in his mind: find out who had taken Claire. He hired a team of investigators and hackers to dig into every clue, every company, and every name connected to the crash and the mysterious men in black vans. It wasn't long before a disturbing pattern appeared. A private research facility, hidden under the name of a medical charity, had operations near the village. Owned quietly by one of Adam's top competitors in the tech world, a man he once trusted. The facility claimed to provide aid, but nothing about it felt right. With his team's help, Adam hacked into the company's internal system. What he found made his blood run cold. Surveillance footage of Claire, alive, restrained in a sterile room, confused and frightened. The files labeled her as Subject 11, a patient with memory loss who had sensitive knowledge. That's when it hit him. Claire must have known something, maybe a secret from his own company, or a deal she'd overheard. Someone didn't just want her to disappear. They wanted to use her. Adam's heart ached, but he didn't let emotions slow him down. He traced the signatures on the documents and found something even worse. One of the names belonged to his own head of security, a man who had worked by his side for over a decade. Betrayal stung worse than anything else. When confronted, the man confessed. He had been paid to make sure Claire never returned, paid to help stage the crash. Adam's world cracked open, but he wasn't broken. If Claire was still alive, he'd tear the world apart to bring her home. And the people responsible, they were about to find out who they'd messed with. Adam launched a covert operation the very next day. With help from trusted allies and legal leverage, he raided the hidden facility in a remote area outside Lima. The halls were cold, white, and silent. But the moment he stepped inside, he felt her presence. Room by room, they searched until, finally, in a secured wing behind layers of locked doors, he found her. Claire. Her hair was longer, her face thinner, but her eyes, even though dazed, were still hers. She sat on a bed, staring at the wall, unsure if the man standing in front of her was real. "Claire," Adam said softly, his voice breaking. She looked at him, confusion flickering into recognition. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Adam," she whispered. He ran to her and held her like he never wanted to let go. Months followed. Therapy, recovery, and court trials. Claire had suffered from trauma and memory loss, but piece by piece, her mind began to return. She remembered the crash, the pain, the jungle, the fear, and then, the men who took her, those responsible, the corrupt executive, the doctors, the betrayer in Adam's own team, were all exposed and brought to justice. Their empire fell under the weight of truth. But Adam didn't care for revenge anymore. He had what he thought was lost forever: his wife, alive. Together, they walked away from the noise, from the spotlight, from the chaos of the past. They bought a quiet home by the sea, where Claire could heal and Adam could breathe again. Sometimes, they would sit on the porch, holding hands, watching the waves, and say nothing at all, because after everything, words weren't always needed. Love had brought her back, and now, it would never let her go again. If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video. Tell us your thoughts or theories in the comments below. Share this with friends who love emotional mystery stories. And don't miss out. Subscribe for more powerful tales. This is our ancestors' dreams, where stories come alive. It was just after 3:30 p.m. when Maya stepped out of her school gates, the sun still high and warm on her skin. She had stayed a little late, helping her favorite teacher put away art supplies. And now she walked through the quiet neighborhood shortcut that led to her house. Maya was 17, smart, well-spoken, and always cautious. Her phone buzzed as she messaged her mom to say she was on her way. The street was lined with trees, the breeze was soft, and the only sound was her footsteps tapping along the sidewalk until the sudden wail of a police siren made her flinch. A white patrol car came to a screeching halt beside her. The door flew open, and out stepped Officer Brent, tall, broad-shouldered, and red-faced, like he had already made up his mind. "Hey, you stop right there," he barked. Maya froze. She looked around, confused, pointing to herself. "Me?" she asked cautiously. "Don't play dumb," Brent growled, storming toward her. "You match the description of a suspect involved in a robbery 2 blocks away." Maya's eyebrows knitted together in disbelief. "Sir, I just got out of school." "I haven't," but her words were cut short as he grabbed her by the arm. "Turn around. Hands behind your back," he ordered. Maya panicked. "Wait, I didn't do anything." Please, I'm just trying to go home. She pleaded, tears forming in her eyes. Brent ignored her, forcing her arms behind her back and slapping on the handcuffs. Her backpack dropped to the ground. Her phone fell and cracked. A couple of bystanders started pulling out their phones to record the scene. One woman shouted, "She's a child. What are you doing?" But Brent didn't care. He slammed Maya against the hood of his car with such force she winced in pain. "You think you're special, huh? Lying won't help you," he said coldly. Maya's heart pounded. Her voice trembled. "Please, call my dad. He'll explain everything." Brent scoffed. "Yeah, I bet he will." He opened the car door, about to shove her inside, when a black BMW rolled to a stop a few feet away. The door opened, and a man in a tailored black suit stepped out, calm but focused. He walked toward them with purpose, his voice cutting through the air like a blade. "Take your hands off my daughter," he said evenly. Brent looked up, annoyed. "Sir, stay back. This is official police Busey." He stopped mid-sentence as the man stepped into the light. It was Judge Malcolm Rivers. Every cop in the city knew that name. Brent's eyes widened as the realization hit. He had just manhandled the daughter of the most powerful judge in the state. "Maya," the judge said gently, ignoring the officer. "Are you okay, Dad?" Maya choked out, relief washing over her face. Judge Rivers turned back to Brent, his expression stone cold. "You've made a serious mistake today." Brent took a small step back, visibly shaken. The crowd grew silent. Phones kept recording. Justice had just arrived and it was wearing a black suit. Officer Brent's heart pounded in his chest as Judge Malcolm Rivers stood in front of him, eyes locked on him with icy calm. The street had gone completely silent. Even the birds in the trees seemed to hush. Brent had heard that name 100 times. Judge Rivers was the man behind the bench in half the cases that made headlines in their city, known for being tough, fair, and absolutely no nonsense when it came to abuse of power. Brent suddenly realized how deep in trouble he was, but his pride made him hesitate. He tried to salvage control. "Sir, I didn't know," Brent said, voice trembling slightly. She didn't identify herself. "I was responding to a 911 call." She matched the description. "She's a 17-year-old walking home from school," the judge replied firmly, "and you never asked her name. You never gave her a chance to speak. You just threw her against your car like she wasn't a human being." Brent opened his mouth to argue, but the weight of dozens of phone cameras watching him, recording every twitch of his face, every word, made him hesitate. "This is a misunderstanding," he mumbled. "No," Rivers snapped, stepping closer. "This is racial profiling. This is brutality. And this will not go unanswered." Maya was still handcuffed, her wrists turning red, her face pale with fear and embarrassment. Judge Rivers turned to her. "Are you hurt?" he asked gently. She nodded slightly, holding back tears. "Get those cuffs off her. Now." Brent hesitated for a split second, long enough to make it worse. "Do it," the judge growled, his voice low and dangerous. Brent fumbled with the keys and unlocked the cuffs, avoiding eye contact with Maya. She rubbed her sore wrists as her father gently guided her away from the police car. "We're going to the hospital first," he said, "then home. After that, I'll be making a few calls." The crowd, still watching silently, began to whisper. Some people clapped softly as Maya was walked to the BMW. A woman from across the street called out, "We saw everything. Judge, we've got the video." The judge nodded, appreciating the support without needing to say a word. Brent stood frozen as the BMW pulled away. His career was flashing before his eyes. He knew this wasn't going to end with a warning or suspension. This wasn't just another angry parent. This was Malcolm Rivers. And he had just humiliated and assaulted the most protected teenager in town. Back at home, Maya sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket, trying to process what happened. Her mother sat beside her, holding her hand. Judge Rivers stood by the window, on the phone with the police commissioner. His voice was steady, but each word carried the weight of authority. "I expect him off the streets by tomorrow morning. I'll also be releasing a statement. This incident will not be buried." Maya looked up at her dad. "You're not mad at me?" He turned and smiled softly. "Mad at you? Never. You were targeted for the color of your skin. That's not your fault. But I promise you, Maya, he messed with the wrong girl. And now, the system he trusted to protect him will hold him accountable." By sunrise the next morning, Maya's story was everywhere. The video taken by bystanders had gone viral overnight, shared on Instagram, reposted on TikTok, and aired on national morning news. Headlines screamed, "Cop slams black teen to ground, judge's daughter, victim of brutal arrest." Maya's name was trending across platforms. Her face, once known only in her school and community, was now being shown in millions of households, but she didn't feel famous. She felt exposed. She hadn't asked for this. All she had done was walk home from school. Yet now, her pain was on display for the world to see. At school, students greeted her with hugs and concerned looks. Her closest friends rallied around her, shielding her from invasive questions. Some teachers offered support, while others looked uncomfortable, unsure of what to say. The principal made a school-wide announcement, condemning the incident and offering counseling for any student affected. But it wasn't just students who were talking. The whole town was buzzing. Parents, teachers, and even store owners were debating what had happened. For some, it confirmed what they had long suspected about Officer Brent. For others, it was a wake-up call about racism in their own neighborhood. Outside the police department, crowds started gathering. Local activists and civil rights leaders held signs, "Justice for Maya, end police brutality, your badge doesn't make you right." People of all backgrounds came together, united by anger and compassion. Speakers demanded accountability, not just for Brent, but for the whole system that allowed officers like him to act without consequence. Protesters chanted Maya's name as cars honked in support. Even people who had never joined a protest before were now standing in the streets, holding candles and speaking out. Officer Brent, meanwhile, had been suspended within hours of the video surfacing. The police department issued a vague statement promising a full investigation, but few believed it would lead to real change. Inside the department, tensions were high. Some officers grumbled that Brent had gone too far, while others defended him, but none could ignore the reality this time. They had targeted the daughter of the wrong man. Judge Rivers, always composed and reserved in public, shocked the media when he held a press conference outside the courthouse. Flanked by his legal advisors and family, he spoke calmly but powerfully. "What happened to my daughter was not an isolated incident," he began. "It's part of a deeper issue. A culture of fear, silence, and unchecked authority." He didn't yell. He didn't need to. His words were sharp enough. "My position will not shield anyone from consequences. If anything, it gives me the platform to ensure they are held." That night, Maya sat with her parents watching the press coverage. Her hands trembled as she saw her name on the screen, but her father placed a hand on hers. "This isn't just about what happened to you," he said. "It's about making sure it doesn't happen to anyone else."